There's never been a college in the history of colleges that has anywhere near a 90% job placement rate. 80% of the last 10 years college graduates are either unemployed or underemployed.
For so many families, the college process feels overwhelming, an emotional maze of skyrocketing costs, confusing applications, and the fear of watching your child choose a path that isn't truly theirs. Hanson knows that pain better than anyone, but he also sees a different future, a vision where students feel empowered, parents feel informed, and the entire journey becomes a strategic investment rather than a financial gamble. As the founder of CollegeLogic, Hans has guided thousands of families worldwide, saving parents millions while helping students build meaningful, purpose-driven college plans. Today on the Midland Money Mindset, he shares how to finally get college right with clarity, confidence, and long-term success at the center of every decision. I'm Larry Sprung, your host for the Midland Money Mindset and founder and wealth advisor of Midland Financial. Let's dive into the show. So I have Hanson today with us, national college advisor and founder of CollegeLogic, and I am so excited to have you back on the show, Hans. You're one of the few guests that have had a second appearance. Last time it was audio only, so this time our listeners get to also see you on video. So welcome to the show.
Well, thanks, Larry. And that's why I visited my makeup artist this morning and got myself dressed up, and I'm ready to go for you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, listen, Hans, we're going to spend a lot of time on, CollegeLogic and what you're doing for families today. But I think you have an interesting background. Can you share kind of your history and what led you up to founding CollegeLogic? And then we'll spend a lot of time there.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. So I went off to college when I was 18 years old, just turned 18 like everybody else. Went down to Clemson University, had no idea what I was doing. 2 years later, I found myself joining the Air Force. And that's when my life turned. I went from being
thank you for your service.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. I went from being a political science major that was going nowhere, spent 5 years in the Air Force, worked accounting finance, and I came out and went back to college, studied accounting, and I became a CPA. So I wasn't ready as an 18-year-old, but I was ready as a 25-year-old after the Air Force to go back and finish college and launch my career. So that always stuck in my mind that a lot of people are not really ready for this. Anyway, the long story made short, I had a business. We sold it in 2001 with my dad and I. And I had a couple of years to figure out what I was going to do. I opened up an indoor sports training center, 18,000 square feet of turf. It was a former tennis facility. We trained baseball, softball, soccer, and lacrosse. And I had a lot of high school teams coming through there. And I started asking everybody, what are they doing about their college? And one after another just had lame excuses that things aren't working out and nobody helped us. Finally, it was like 2005. And I said, now I know what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I'm going to teach and coach and mentor students on how to take ownership of their life. And I'm going to use college as a platform for doing it. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. And that's when my life changed to become what it is today.
Amazing. Yeah. Did you always have like this entrepreneurial spirit? I mean, it sounds like your dad had his own business too, and you ended up joining him. Was it something you kind of saw and emulated growing up, and that was a direction that you always thought about going in, or did it really just come out of the blue?
It did turn out that way because I had jobs. Probably like you, I had like 8 or 10 different jobs leading up into college. And even after the Air Force, I even had a job doing things. I always try to figure out ways to make money. That's what we did in those days. And I became a CPA, and then I got my MBA, and then I went to work with my dad, a small business, but we took a $2.5 million a year business, turned it into a $10 million business. And I just love that. So when we sold the business, I wasn't just going to go get a job. I really hadn't had a job since I was a CPA. And so I got my real estate license, I got my health and life insurance license, and I just did different things to work on making money until I settled in on college advising. And since then, I've been a one man operation, and I knew back in 2005 when my kids were teenagers, I wanted to live with a flexible schedule. If I wanted to go see the sports events or the music events, I could do it. I could drop whatever I'm doing during the day and drive somewhere and watch my son's ball game or daughter's event. So I always wanted to build flexibility into my schedule, Larry. And I know you do some of the same, so that we can do the things that are important to us. I did not want life to go past me and me sit there when I'm my age today and go, geez, I missed out on all those things. So I did not miss out on those things. Maybe I chose a harder path, but I love flexibility, and that's what I built into my life.
Yeah. So, Hans, let's talk about CollegeLogic now. In terms of, you gave us a sense of the why behind, starting it, but maybe you could give our listeners a little bit of an idea of, what you do, how you walk a family through this very complex process. In full disclosure to our listeners, we engaged Hans for my older son. It was a huge success, but can you maybe give them an idea of what that process looks like for them?
Well, I'm a personal one-on-one advisor, mentor, coach, working with them to help them navigate the complicated process known as college. And that encumbers a lot of things. Most people in this country, if they work as a college advisor, really all they do is they work on helping students with applications, and maybe essays. Yes, those are tasks. Yes, I had to deal with tasks and work on those tasks. But I look at it much broader than that. I look at success. My success isn't necessarily getting a student to college. My success is based on, like your son, Zach, when they graduate, where are they at? Have they had success? Have they thrived? Are they ready, mature and ready to go to the next stage of their life, which is their young adult life after college? So I start off working with families, really working with them in the beginning, when in ninth, 10th, 11th grade, where they don't even understand the college landscape. They just understand rankings of colleges. And everybody always wants to go after rankings, which I don't do. But we want to get the framework of what is important to the student, what's important to the parents. But then more than anything else, Larry, if I summed up one thing, what my job is to help students live the life they want for themselves. Students to live the life, not live the life their parents want.
Right.
Live the life they want for themselves. And when they're 16 or 17, they've never really been asked that. They have these deep internal passions and desires and abilities and amazing things all trapped inside their body. And we don't live in a society that encourages them and asks them and motivates them to access it and believe that it's important, that they can do what they want to do, what inspires them. So that's the basis of my work. And using college as a platform for doing that, we're going to work on what's the right college fit. We're going to work on what are the right college studies. How do you go about it? How do you be proactive throughout this process instead of reactive? And how do you do the things along the way so that you get the outcome?
And you mentioned it. Fit is something that, you talk about often in your role, and it's so vitally important. And we talk about it here too when it comes to families we're working with. For you, it's fit that you talk about fit in terms of the student and the college, I believe. How does fit work into the college process for you, and why is that so important?
Larry, in my first phone call with every family, I start working on fit. My second phone call, when I have only my student, like I have a new startup on Saturday, and we'll spend 2 hours just talking about fit the college landscape, what might make sense, what's important to them. Because the vast majority of society views fit as the highest ranked school. I'm just going to put this up for a second, not so that people can see it, but you can see there are like 15 different factors here for fit. And the one that's not on there is rankings. So fit determines success and satisfaction. It determines if they wake up every morning inspired. Families will ask me, how do we determine, in the end, how do we decide on fit? Well, once we've evaluated everything else, and you still don't really know, all I have to do is ask the student one question. It works every time, Larry. Where do you want to wake up to 1,000 times? Not 10 times. We can put up with a lot when we wake up 10 times. Where do you want to wake up 1,000 times? To the smells, the sounds, the sights, the student culture, what you see, what you hear, what you feel day after day. And if you pick the school that you're inspired every day, you wake up to that, as opposed to being overwhelmed or discouraged every day, then you have fit. That's fit for the student, and then fit for the parent has to be affordability, is a major component of fit.
Yeah. Well, along the lines of affordability, I think, education is, well, from our experience, is really something that people rarely look at through the lens of ROI, return on investment, right? If families are going to make an investment in a home or in a property or in a stock or a bond, they're always concentrated on the ROI. But sometimes, I think many times, they rarely focus on that ROI when it comes to education, which is just as, if not more important. So, Hans, how can we help refocus prospective students on the cost versus the benefit of their education, and have them and their parents, look and evaluate the ROI of the path they're going to take?
Well, Larry, I love that question. Of course, waking up this morning and knowing that I was going to be speaking with you, it made me think. I say, well, I've worked with about 1,000 families over the year. That's a pretty good general number. I've had less than 20 parents ever talk about return on investment. And you are the lead for that. So that's 1 out of 50 people think about return on investment when it comes to college. Well, if you, like you mentioned, if you buy a home or you invest in securities, you want a return on investment. When you do that, you use professionals to help you navigate that. You choose professionals who can help guide and direct you in the right thing. You do your due diligence, you have your inspections, you do all these things in buying a house. Therefore, you have in mind return on investment. But when you go buy dinner tonight, you don't look for any return on investment, so that's okay. It gets consumed. You go buy a car. Well, there's no return on investment. It's declining value. But what dealership you want to go to. So people start thinking about, how do they want the car to look like? Does it fit my ego or status or whatever? People treat college the same way as buying a car. They need to treat it as buying a house. So it starts with parents. And then with kids, they have to understand the day they start college, they're the owner of their own business. And they are in the business of accumulating intellectual capital. And if you're in the business of accumulating intellectual capital, every day you wake up, you want to build upon that. And when you do that, and Zach clearly always was mindful of that, but very few students do. If we want to help people understand return on investment, we have to get them to focus on why are you in college? And every activity you do, does it support the meaningful purpose of being there? Larry, we know this. Parents need to know the facts. Number one, 80%, 80, not 8, 80% of the last 10 years college graduates are either unemployed or underemployed. Less than 20% are working a job related to their studies, and that's totally predictable. Secondly, colleges love to say, oh, we have a 90% job placement rate. And parents buy into that, and the parents think that they don't have to do anything. Oh, the college is going to do it for them. Remember, this is why I got into this work to begin with, because you can't sit around and wait for the college to do it for you. The parents have to be involved, but no, colleges say we have a 90% job placement rate. So the parents say, okay, I'm paying a lot of money. They get a 90% job placement rate. So the return will be there in due time. Well, the fact is, there's never been a college in the history of colleges that has anywhere near a 90% job placement rate. And yet, every single one professes to have that. Secondly, there's not a college that tracks it. So if you ask the person who says 90% during the information session, how do you track that? If they were honest, they would say, well, I don't know how we track it. I'm just told to say it. So they know if they say it, parents will believe it. Well, parents got to quit believing that, and they have to start believing in, what do we do? This thing called college is a transformational bridge. How do we encourage the transformation to take place? It's a transformation taking kids from being a teenager/kid to becoming a young adult. It's a 4, 5, or 6 year transformation. You can't sit on the sideline and think the transformation is going to happen on your own. So everybody needs to be more involved and understanding of what it takes to get the desired outcome.
Let's pause for a moment. What actually brings you joy? It's something most people never think about, yet it shapes how your life unfolds. You're busy. You make responsible choices. You even plan ahead. But have you slowed down long enough to ask if what you're building supports a life you enjoy living? That's the reason I built my YouTube channel, to help you bring more joy to your money journey. Sure, we'll talk about all the essentials, but my real goal is to help you connect your finances with what brings you joy, because money is the tool that funds the moments that matter. If you want to explore that connection more deeply, visit my YouTube channel at Larry Sprung.
Hey, Angie, I mean, you're talking about the job placement numbers there for a second, and I think this leads to a bigger issue or thing that people should be aware of. You know, let's talk about the business aspects of colleges and universities, because I think many people think that, you know, these are colleges and universities that are altruistic in terms of wanting to help young minds get educated and be successful in their future career. And I'm not saying all colleges and universities don't feel that way, and there aren't people in those colleges and universities that don't feel that way. But this is a big business. You know, what do families need to know about the business aspects of these schools?
Larry, I love that. And we could chat for 4 hours, all day on that. Parents have to understand that this is a business. Colleges own the rules. They can change them anytime. They own the outcomes. Everything that they do is designed to support their business model. Every single thing. Very few things are designed to support the family interests. So parents need to understand that they're going to be the ones writing a check. They're in the business of buying education. Colleges are in the business of selling it. They are a service provider. They are nothing more than that. They are a service provider, and they want to provide their service. And if they get you, a parent, on right away, they want to keep you there for 4 years, for sure. That's why they have at least. And then they have ways during that time to encourage kids to change their majors and things like that and extend their term. So if they can get an extra year out of you, the parent, at $80,000 a year, they just added $80,000.
Yeah.
All of those things are by design. And then when you get into the application, since you mentioned that, Every single thing supports the interest of the college. Early decision is a policy that supports the best interest of the college. It raises their conversion rate of acceptances into enrollments. That's a higher conversion rate because they make parents feel 100% committed and bound to enroll. When they have a higher conversion rate, the business of college goes just like this, Larry. The lower the acceptance rate, the higher the conversion rate, allows them to raise their tuition and lower their scholarships. That's the business of work. And every policy they have is designed to lower the acceptance rate and increase their enrollment rate.
And Hans, I'll share a personal anecdote from my son Zach. So about a year and a half ago, it was looking like, which he was going to be able to graduate early. So his advisor, quote unquote advisor, said, "Hey, maybe you should just use the time and just go for your MBA, and you'll get a jump on it." So he talked to them about working towards the MBA. What the advisor didn't tell him was if he went down that path and went down the MBA track, he was going to lose his presidential scholarship as a result of that and have to pay full price. And at the end of the day, he was going down a route to be a CPA. The MBA wasn't really necessary because at the end of the day, he didn't know anything that was MBA worthy because he had no real world experience. So, he made, and we helped counsel him, he made the right decision of not going down that route and taking on this additional expense. But I think that's an example of what you were talking about in terms of the people within the university, supporting the business aspects of the university, right?
At every step of the way, including at most schools, their career advisors have to contact the students in the second semester of their sophomore year. And they have a meeting in March and they talk about, how are your studies coming? What do you think about your major? Have you thought about where this is going to lead to? Would you like to think about maybe changing your major and leading to something else? And the students mostly will say, yeah, I think I'd like to maybe change my major and do this and do that. And then they're convinced to change their major. And then they go home and they call up mom or dad and they say, hey, I'm going to change my major. And moms and dads, not necessarily you would do this, but less diligent moms and dads would say, okay, that's fine. Whatever makes you happy. Well, as soon as they go do that in the second semester of their sophomore year, they're automatically going to stay at least one semester extra, probably two. So that meeting is designed to extend the term. So those people, nothing deviant about those people. However, they work for the university. They don't work for us. And we have to be mindful all the time at every corner that we are the buyer, they're the seller.
Agreed. So listen, a lot of parents who are listening to this, who are approaching or in the midst of the college planning process, one of the most stressful, parts of the process that we hear about from parents, and I'm sure you do too, prior to them working with you, is the college essay, right? A lot of pressure on the kids with regard to the college essay. So what tips what's maybe one or two tips you can leave with families or students around the college essay to make that easier for them?
Well, I have a tutorial on how to write a great college essay, and it's like 5 pages long, and then I have like 30 great examples, and a lot goes into writing a great essay. But a couple things that are really important are, number one, it's not what you want to say that counts. Kids are always saying, I just want to say this. I just want to say that. It's not what you want to say that counts. The way you write a great essay is think about what is the message you want to convey. What is this message? What is the theme I want to convey about myself that reflects favorably on me? And then how am I going to convey it? And every step of the way, once you start writing, am I helping to convey this message? Or am I confusing things? And so How do you stay on track and stay focused and not go sideways and deliver a clear message so that at the end, when the reader gets done reading, one of three things happens. They either go, wow, that was great. That's like an exclamation mark. Or they go, hey, I get it. That's like ending in a period. Or they go, what the heck is that? And that ends in a question mark. And those are failed essays. And Larry, they'll report to me 9 out of 10 end with question marks. Like, what is that? The second thing to keep in mind is nobody wants to read the essays. So they will get off them as quick as can be and deny an application 10 words into an essay if it just isn't going to make sense to them. They don't need to sit there and read for 10 minutes. So our job is to keep them on the essay and get them to the next section of the application. The third thing, and last for now, is know who the audience is. The audience is not your mom or dad, not your guidance counselor, and not your English teacher. We have to reflect favorably upon ourselves to them. So when we choose topics, they can't be depressing topics or sports failures or, oh, I got cut from a team. Oh, my grandfather died and I was devastated. We all know all those things are upsetting. That's not the basis of a great essay. So it has to be insightful, has to convey deep personal meaning. It has to start with the beginning and end with a conclusion. So do all that in 500 or 600 words, and you can have a great essay.
Yeah. And if you parents, you don't want the stress, work with hands. Because I will tell you, I don't know that I even saw the college essay until it was done. And I know Zach, my son, had it done the summer before the application process even started. So it took a lot of the pressure off and was hugely, hugely helpful to us and our family.
So I have to comment on that because I love that. My kids' essays, we're starting to work on them right now for the juniors. We're starting to work on the idea. We'll be writing those essays in the springtime. We want to be done by the summertime with most of the essays. Why? Because I want most of the application process to be done before they begin their senior year. We know that once the senior year starts, there's all kinds of activities. And so if they don't have their essay done, and their main essays, there are a few others, done before they start school, they're not going to have time to put into it. And everything gets pushed back, and we can't have things pushed back.
Yeah. And I think in those lines, right, the paperwork, and there's a lot of paperwork that you have to go through the application process. And we're the Midland Money Mindset, and we talk with families about money all the time. I wanted you to share, why is it so important? Because I think this is where some families get hung up. Why is it so important, even for families who do not think or absolutely know they will not qualify for financial aid, to fill out the FAFSA form? And this was something you really, hammered home with me and going through that, and why doing that as early as possible is as beneficial.
So there are people in this world that are independently wealthy, not us, and not the people I work with. Now, independently wealthy people have no trouble, $500,000 for 5 years of college. They don't blink an eye at that, and they don't need to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered by anything. They're willing to pay full price with not even a thought. Okay, they don't need to do it. But everybody else, this is all part of the discipline of the process, the diligence of the process. Early, the people who submit the financial information early and the applications early, our applicants have their applications in September. We get the financial information, the FAFSA, CSS profile submitted in October. It's all part of early in the process. And if everything happens early, it designates our attention to the process, that we value it, we value them. It's important to do things on time. And we get their attention early when they're reviewing applications, when they're feeling good. When the admission counselors are feeling good, they're not feeling overwhelmed or anything yet. And we get our best acceptances. we get our highest scholarships, and we also get the best financial aid from people who do things in total, in full, complete. If you have the mindset that says, I'm going to take shortcuts, I don't need to do those things, then all of a sudden they convey that same message to their kids. And their kids would think in life they can take shortcuts, like, oh, I don't have to take the SATs because they're test optional. We can't be raising our kids in the mindset that shortcuts pay off in the big scheme of things.
Yeah. And I'm under the understanding that your opportunities for scholarships and merit money are higher early on, it sounds like, is what you're saying.
100%. Because they value those students. Those are the students that they want, really.
Right. Hey, you talked about it, you just touched on it a moment ago about test optional, because some schools are still test optional. And I'm hearing from what you said a moment ago that even if schools are test optional, it still behooves the student to go ahead and take the test. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, Larry, in this process, if there anywhere along the way says optional, it's not optional to me. So if it says the essay is optional, that's not optional. We're doing it.
By not doing it, you're basically opting out.
You're opting out
of being accepted, it sounds like.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that some people don't get accepted by applying test optional, but the test optional policy is 100% in favor of the universities. It supports their business model. It makes submitting applications much easier, or it allows families to think, oh, my son or daughter has a 3.8 GPA and only a 950 SAT score. Maybe they can get into Brown University. No, guess what? It doesn't work that way. But it makes people think I can submit more applications to elite colleges, and it runs up the number of applications, which lowers the acceptance rate. It just automatically does it. Acceptance rates in the last 5 or 6 years, Larry, since test optional has been around, have been trimmed to like 30%. What used to be 20% acceptance rate is now 5% acceptance rate. But that's by design. That doesn't really make the school harder to get into, by the way. It just means there are a whole lot more people applying that don't have the qualifications for it. So when you apply test optional, you're just feeding into the college's business model and their interest.
Hans, this has been very enlightening. And as you know from the last time you were on the show, we always end by asking our guests the same final question, because this is the Midland Money Mindset, and we're all about joy on this show. And that is, what did you do today that brought you joy and put you in the right mindset for success?
Well, Larry, I love that. I love that about Midland. I love that about you and your family. And so your personal and your professional being is always centered around that. And I've been able to witness it for like 10 years now, knowing you. So it's a constant reminder. For me, I would go back 16 hours. 7:00 last night, I arrived in my music studio to rehearse with my band for like 3 or 4 hours. So that starts a really wonderful evening. It's fun, but it's also, we're rehearsing. It's work, but it's fun with wonderful people just creating music, and then go home, go to bed, get a good night's rest, and then wake up. And that's this morning. And just wake up to the mindfulness of how lucky we are to wake up, to live on this earth in this moment of time, to have lungs that breathe, a heart that feels, a mind that thinks, to have some skills and abilities to do what we like to do. And so I'm always thankful of that. I read the Bible every morning. That always puts my mind in that frame of mind anyway. And then I wake up with the purpose of the day ahead. And this morning, when you say this morning, I wake up with a little smile on my face. I know I'm going to see Larry this morning and do this together with you. And doing it together really warms my heart. And so from my standpoint, in a 16-hour time, from 7:00 last night to right now in this moment, that's a whole lot of joy. And when I think about being joyful, we know what the pure definition of joyful means: full of joy. And for me, there's a whole lot of joy. I'm full of joy day after day. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet for the work I do. I do Zoom calls with 17-year-old students, 18-year-old people wanting to make a life for themselves, and I'm really the luckiest guy to be doing it. Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Hans. And we're going to have all of your information in the show notes. But if people want to learn more about you, connect with you, learn more about CollegeLogic, what's the easiest and the best place for them to go to do that?
Well, thank you for asking. The business name is CollegeLogic, as you know, but my website is mycollegelogic.com because CollegeLogic wasn't available. So it's mycollegelogic.com. So anybody who'd like to go on my website and then send me an email, which is my first name, Hans, at mycollegelogic.com. It's an easy way to contact me. There's also a box on my website. You can fill out information. I'd be happy to chat with anybody anytime to see what I can do to help them achieve their goals.
Great stuff. And I will tell you, as I mentioned earlier in the show, we used Hans's services. It's been hugely beneficial. It's coming up on time now where my son is going to be graduating, and he got through that process. And Hans, put him in a position where he does have a full-time job after graduation. He's not going to be a statistic, whether the school says he had one or not. He actually has one, and he's super excited about it. And, the path he's on has a lot to do with Hans because of the guidance he gave him early on in the college career.
If I could add one tiny little thing, 2 weeks ago on a Saturday, I was attending a wedding of a student that I started working with 8 years ago. That is like my ultimate reward, to see somebody go through a process and have success as a young adult, enough success where they have a special moment of time in their life and they invite me to be a part of it. So that's the joy I get out of my work. And thank you, Larry, for helping support me along this journey.
Amazing. And Hans, thank you. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for spending your time here, and enjoy the rest of your day.
I shall. You as well. Thank you.
Hans, thank you for sharing your passion and your purpose with us today. Your commitment to helping families cut through confusion and make confident, financially smart college decisions is truly inspiring. Your clarity brings calm to a process that overwhelms so many, and your work is changing futures one student at a time. We're grateful you spent this time with us on the Midland Money Mindset. Hans Hanson and CollegeLogic can be found across most social media platforms. All the contact information needed to find them can be found in the show notes.